Today we're going to talk about a great big picnic. And it was such an important story that all four, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all four of Jesus' friends that wrote in the Gospels wrote about this story. It was amazing to them. And so today, we've been wanting to teach this for so long. We're going to talk about fish. We're going to do a craft. And we're going to have a snack, a fabulous snack. So watch until the very end. Okay, I wanted you to see how many 5,000 would be. So if somebody sat in each one of those little tiny seats all the way up, you can see all of these seats, if they were all filled with people, that is not even as many as 5,000. That is 3,000. A little bit more than that. And if one little boy had 2 fish and 5 little tiny loaves of bread, I don't think we could feed all of those people. If they came to eat at my house, I think they would need more than that. And Philip was one of Jesus' friends, and he said, I think that would even take as much as we could ever earn in half of a year to feed all of those people. And that was just the men. Some of the men had wives and children. So many people had heard that Jesus was a special man. They thought surely he was a prophet when he made all of the people sit in little groups. And he set them on the grass and he said, give me the little boy's lunch and I'll pray over it and we'll pass it out. And it made every one of these people, plus more, maybe twice as many as this, they all were full on one little boy's lunch. Okay, here I am on the stage of the Benson Auditorium, and I wanted to show you this lunch. If you look down in that sack, you might see some bread, another bread. I see 2 of these down in there. That's fish. I got that at McDonald's. There's 3 pieces of bread. And if you see down in there, we have a total of 2 pieces of fish and 5 pieces of bread for all the people. And Jesus held the food up after the little boy shared it, and he said a prayer. And he looked up in the sky and he held his hands up and he said, thank you, God. I wonder what he saw up in the heavens. And then he had the people sit down, like I said, on the grass, and he shared that one little lunch with all of these people. All of the many, many thousands of people that followed him around the Sea of Galilee. And they all got filled up on one little boy's lunch. It was a miracle. Okay, I want you to help me make the Sea of Galilee. It was filled with water, and Jesus and his friends rode a boat in the Sea of Galilee. I have this tiny boat here. Let's see if it'll float. I think it does, Mr. David. Do you think it does? Yeah. Do you want to help me turn the water blue? That's always fun. See if we can put a few drops here and there. Let's stir it in and see if we make a blue Sea of Galilee. My finger may be blue. Okay. Does that look like good water with a boat in it? The Sea of Galilee is about the same size as Heber if you ever go to the lake there. It's pretty big and it can get stormy at times. We'll talk more about that later. Jesus is going to be this guy today. I found my Jesus that we couldn't find last week. So this is our Jesus today. Nobody really knows what he looks like, but that will be him today. Okay, he had done some important things and people wanted to see him. And he was tired. He got tired like we do. One of his cousins had died and that made him sad, so he wanted to be alone. And he went way off over here to the far side of the Sea of Galilee, where he hoped nobody could find him. But guess what? The people heard he was over there, so they went around. They went around to this side of the Sea of Galilee. So many people. You see all these guys? And I bet some of the daddies even took their children. I bet this man knew it was an important thing to see Jesus, and he probably took his little boy. And lots of people came. And Jesus said, what are we going to do for food for all of the people? Because there was no McDonald's there. There were no restaurants there. Jesus already knew what he was going to do, but he just asked that of his followers, his disciples, to see if they knew. And Philip said, one of his friends said, if we wanted to buy food for all these people, it would take half a year to buy all this food. Half of a year's wages, that would be a lot of money, wouldn't it? And so Peter said, well, guess what? I have a little boy and he's willing to share his lunch. And that little boy had 2 little tiny fish and 5 little barley loaves. Now, I didn't have barley loaves, so I just made bread. But the mama probably thought, oh, my little boy is going on a special day to see Jesus and there won't be food there. So she saw to him and packed him some food to take. And he said, I don't need all this. I can share. And so Jesus said, okay, then sit down on the ground and we're going to feed everybody. And the disciples started passing out the food. They divided into little groups and sat on the green grass. And all 5,000 people ate enough to get completely full. And then at the very end, when they gathered up the leftovers, oh, I forgot the most important part. Jesus took the little boy's lunch and he held it up to the sky. You see, Jesus doesn't even have his eyes closed. He's looking up to the heavens to where God is, maybe, and saying a prayer, saying, dear God, bless this food that will go around to all the people. And it did. And at the very end, when they picked up the leftovers, they had 12 full baskets. That was a miracle. That was something that I couldn't do and you couldn't do, but Jesus was able to do it with God's help. Mr. David's going to tell you a story about when he went on a special day. And I know you've probably been to big parades or big gatherings. Mr. David did that when he was little.
At your house recently, you may have celebrated Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King was a preacher. He lived in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where I grew up. He wanted to get to a point where all people were treated equally, and he taught that we should be peaceful when we protest to the government, that everyone be treated equally. Unfortunately, he died before he was able to preach every sermon he wanted to preach. But when they had his funeral, they had a sermon that he had actually preached, and in it he said he didn't want to be remembered for all his awards and honors, but he wanted to be remembered for feeding the hungry and taking care and loving the people. And that's why he was such a beloved person then and is still today. And when he had his funeral, they took his coffin in a wagon, a farm wagon drawn by 2 mules from the church to the college where he had gone for 3 miles. And on either side of the road, there were hundreds of thousands of people that were gathered around to honor Dr. King. And my dad took my sister and me to downtown Atlanta, and we stood on the corner and we watched the wagon go by, bringing his coffin, and all the people sang, "We Shall Overcome Someday," which is a song about how we're hoping to live with Jesus in heaven. And we were so proud to know that Martin Luther King had been a servant of Jesus and had loved Jesus and had wanted everyone to serve him.
I'm going to go get Thatcher and Thane, and maybe the girls, maybe Hunter and Jovi too, and let them help make loaves and fishies snack mix. So if you have any goldfish crackers, or if you want to put it on your next grocery list, you also need some oil and some fish crackers and baggies. And we're going to make a snack for today, so we will help remember this lesson. It's a very important lesson. And then also we'll be doing some painting. And you can paint at home if you want to, or you can always print off a coloring sheet. I'll show you in the description below. Click the 2 words, show more, and it'll tell you how to print off the loaves and goldfish's coloring sheet that I found online free. You can either do paint, markers, coloring, whatever you choose. But we've enjoyed seeing you today. Let us know if you've done any of the crafts or the snacks. We'd love to hear from you. So here's our little boy that's sharing his lunch with Jesus. And Jesus, remember, he lifted the food up to the sky and blessed the food, thanked God for the food. And then he handed the food out. And how many people did it feed? 5,000. And that's how much was left over. 12 baskets full. After everyone had eaten, look how much there was left over. Can you count them?
What? I didn't know we were filming. I thought we were seeing pictures.
It's okay. It's fine. It's perfect.
Quiet on the set.
Everybody.
Okay, so we found Thatcher and we found Hunter, and they're going to make the Loaves and Fishes snack mix with you. So the first thing that you're going to do, Thatcher, is tell them what kind of cracker this is.
Oyster crackers.
Oyster crackers. He's going to put a cup of these into his bag. And Hunter, you are going to put a cup as well.
2, because this is just a half.
Yes, right. Perfect. That's great. So he put it in there. And now they're going to add a bag of... Okay, Dad can help you. Going to add a bag of goldfish to the bag. Ooh, Hunter ate one. All right, so it said on Pinterest to add a little bit of oil to this. So we're going to add just a tiny amount. I would say less than a teaspoon. You can even measure it into this. Why don't we do that? And that'll help the seasoning salt to stick. Perfect, Thatcher. Want to dump it in? We're going to do one more cap, or is that plenty?
I think one more cap.
Okay, one more cap. And then we'll let Hunter do it. She's waiting so patiently.
Here you go, and here you go.
Okay. All right, Thatcher, what kind of seasonings are you going to use on your snack?
White cheddar.
White cheddar?
Mommy, I spilled
That's
some.
okay. Here's a rag. It'll be fine. Here, we'll edit that out.
It's greasy.
That's okay. It's going to bake in the oven. Okay, I'll put this up and then we'll have another spill. Now shake it around, and then you're going to add just a little bit of seasoning salt. Not too much or you won't like it.
I open it up.
What kind are you using? Popcorn salt or garlic salt?
I'm using popcorn and I'm using butter salt.
Hold it up.
I'm using the butter,
Popcorn seasoning,
and then I'm using the white cheddar.
white cheddar, popcorn.
And then I think I may use a little bit of garlic. Can you
Okay.
open this?
Okay, Pastor, now it's time. If you added your seasoning, shake it up, because remember, you get it too salty, it'll make you thirsty. You don't want it too salty.
Yeah.
That should be great. All right, now pass it over to Hunter.
I didn't get enough.
His is going to be so spicy.
That's not the spicy kind.
Yeah, that's plenty. That's plenty. That's plenty.
Good.
You don't like it, do you?
I like it.
Okay.
You licked just the seasoning.
So zip the bag up, and then you're going to shake everything in the bag. Is it hot? Was it
Probably
hot?
too much.
All right. So zip the bag up and shake it, shake it, shake it.
I think I broke some of my crackers.
Yeah, don't try not to break your crackers. But roll them around in the oil. That's good. That'll get them tasty. Now pour it into your pan.
Mine's not greasy enough. we put on it?
If you wanted to put some fish nets in there, you could. You want to put fish nets?
Yeah.
It's not really part of the lesson, but you can.
Oh, whoa. You can cover. I know you're not supposed to eat it yet, but it's a cranberry sauce. Whoa. Whoa. It's got popcorn salt on it.
Okay, I found a little pack of what
I think it tastes better on popcorn.
We're going to use some of these pretzels that look like fishing nets. Does anybody want one of these?
I know.
You want one of these, Thatcher?
I
Does
need
that
to
look
shake
like a
them in my.
net?
I need to shake them in my bag.
Okay. There's your bag of. Mix them around in there. All right, you ready to bake yours, Thatcher? Here.
Yes, ma'am. Ow. Mommy, how long do we bake them?
We're going to leave them in there till they're good and warm. And I put it on 350, so we might have to watch it. But on Pinterest, I think it treated it like party mix, where you baked it slow temperature for longer. But we're just going to watch ours. All right. Okay, boys and girls, this is Thatcher, and he's going to paint what? Show him what you're painting,
A
Thatcher.
fish.
A little wooden fish. Hunter, can you show what you have to paint?
Got purple, green, orange, and yellow.
Yeah, they're going to even use Q-tips. And if you don't have a paintbrush, you can always use a Q-tip. Or even if you have those little tiny paints like this. This is probably what Jovi and Thane will use. Jovi and Thane will use this. Okay, go to town, boys and girls. Let's see what kind of colorful fishes you have in the Sea of Galilee.
All right.
1, 2, 3. There's a sea, there's a sea, there's a sea of Galilee. There's a sea, there's a sea, there's a sea of Galilee. There's a sea, there's a sea, there's a sea of Galilee. There's a boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's a boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's a boat, there's a boat, there's a boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's men on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's men on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's men, there's men, there's men on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's hands on the man on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's hands on the man on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's hands, there's hands, there's hands on the man on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's nets in the hands of the man on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's nets in the hands of the man on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's nets, there's nets, there's nets in the hands of the man on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's fish in the nets of the hands of the man on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's fish in the nets of the hands of the man on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's fish, there's fish, there's fish in the nets of the hands of the man on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's many, many fish in the nets of the hands of the man on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's many, many fish in the nets of the hands of the man on the boat on the Sea of Galilee. There's many, many fish, there's many, many fish, there's many, many fish in the nets of the hands of the man